I stared at the numbers, trying to find the error. $10 million, $100 million, billions. I read the financial reports over and over, trying to understand one simple thing. What exactly were they paying for? It wasn't a spaceship, not a nuclear power plant, not a new continent. Just a plain white window, a blinking cursor. You ask a question, it answers, and that is it. Then why does it cost billions of dollars? I started writing down amounts and dates on a whiteboard, but the more numbers appeared, the stranger the picture became. No one argued that the project cost astronomical amounts of money. Everyone only argued about whether it would be enough. Usually, big money comes after success. A company creates a product, people start buying it, and only then do the massive profits follow. But here, everything worked in reverse. Billions were burned before the world even understood what was being built. As if someone knew something beforehand that no one else did. That exact thought made me dig deeper. I no longer cared how much ChatGPT cost. I was interested in something else entirely. Why were investors ready to risk that kind of money, receiving nothing in return but promises? I wrote a single word on the board. Price. A few seconds later, I erased it. No. Price is what the buyer pays. But something else was happening here. These were costs. And between those two words, as it turned out, lay a chasm worth several billion dollars. I decided to do something I hadn't done before. To forget about the app itself for a moment. To pretend it doesn't even exist. There is only a ledger. And in it, amounts appear, one after another. 10 million, 100 million, a billion, another billion. If you cover the name of the project with your hand, you might think they're building a new metropolis, but definitely not a program that answers questions. I started tracking where this money was vanishing, and almost immediately hit the first anomaly. I couldn't find a single line that read, "Creating ChatGPT, X billion dollars." The money was dissolving into dozens of different directions. Research, training, compute, engineering teams, errors, dead-end experiments. At first, I was disappointed. I wanted to find a single cause, a single culprit, but it didn't exist. I walked over to the window. In the distance, a skyscraper was being built. When a person looks at a finished building, they see glass, concrete, floors. But almost no one thinks about the thousands of engineers, the geologists, the tons of rebar hidden deep underground, the months of calculations, and hundreds of mistakes that had to be fixed before the first floor even appeared. The exact same thing was happening with ChatGPT. We only see the facade, a white window, a cursor. That's when I realized my biggest mistake. I was still thinking of it as a product, but maybe it never was one. Maybe it's just a door behind which lies not a program, but an entire industry. I went back to the board and stopped looking for the price of the text window itself. Instead, I started looking for the cost of the thing, without which it could never have appeared at all. At first, I was sure I'd find some secret technology, but the deeper I dug, the clearer it became. Almost everything I found already existed. Computers existed, servers existed. Even the mathematics of neural networks was no secret. None of it explained such a price tag. I hit a dead end again. And in any good investigation, a dead end means only one thing. You're asking the wrong question. I wiped the board clean, and instead of "what cost so much," I wrote, "what had to be done for the very first time?" That was when the investigation finally moved forward. Turns out, They weren't paying for what already existed. They were spending it on something no one had ever tried to do on this scale before. Not just writing code, but forcing a system to swallow almost all the text humanity had ever accumulated, and making sure it didn't collapse under its own weight. Building one car is an engineering challenge. Building 1,000,000 cars is an industry. Something similar happened here. The problem wasn't inventing a language model. The problem was creating the environment for it. The numbers started to make sense. The billions weren't the price of an idea. Ideas are cheap. The billions were the price of attempting to turn that idea into reality. They didn't just build an app. They spent years building the very possibility of its existence. And that possibility is what cost billions of dollars.
I sat down at my desk. Now I understood why no one could name the exact price. Because you can't price the tip of an iceberg without calculating the entire iceberg itself. But one thought still haunted me. I opened my laptop, looked at the blinking cursor in the empty input field. If this giant machine is already built, if the billions are already spent, why does every new question I ask still cost money? Shouldn't the expenses have ended once the construction was finished?